Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello everybody, my name is Amga Balawi. This is our second lecture in research methodology. We talked last time about the difference between different philosophies of research. We said that we have two reasons for conducting a research. This is our research objectives. The first one is filling knowledge gap. The second is problem solving. We said that problem solving, these researchers, sometimes we call it applied science researchers, these researchers try to solve a problem. They have a certain problem and they come to solve this problem, so they make a research. On the other hand, filling knowledge gap, these people are major academics, are major theoretical, and these people try to read a lot of books, try to find knowledge gap. From this knowledge gap, they develop their research. That's why we have two different approaches. And we said we have to be in between, trying to solve problem solving only without looking at your literature review is wrong, because you may reinvent the wheel. On the other hand, trying to fill in knowledge gap, and that's it, you may drive yourself into a very trivial research and unimportant research. So we say that you have to be in between the continuum here. Okay? And also, based on these objectives, we have two research paradigms. These people are very close to be positivism. These people are very close to be interpretivism. Interpretivism. What is the difference between them again? Okay, positivism, these people say reality. Again, we are researchers, we seek for reality. This is our aim. So, the positivism says that the reality, the valid knowledge, how come? I don't know. We have to think or read a lot of books. After reading a lot of books, we think that we have knowledge gap. I don't know if the peace affects nations or not. I read a lot of books, try to find a relationship between the two concepts, and so I didn't find anyone talk about that. I develop a questionnaire, send the questionnaire to people, and then from their answers, I get the model, the relationships between two concepts. That's why we sometimes call this kind of research causal research. This kind of research, sometimes we call it quantitative. Why? Because it's based on statistics. We find the relationship statistically. We are very objective. What is the meaning of objective or objectivist? The reality is external of us. What is the meaning of reality is external of us? Reality here, I don't know the reality. I propose hypothesis and test hypothesis. What's the meaning of hypothesis? Hypothesis, there is a relationship between X and Y or not. That's it. This is the positivism. On the other hand, interpretivism look at the reality from different perspectives. They say there is no single reality, so we have to understand the context. We have to understand different cultures. We have to understand different people. So there is no reality here. That's why we can't use questionnaire. We try to go to by ourselves into organization and talk to people and describe what we have seen. That's why we call it descriptive research or qualitative research. Okay, this is the last time. Today, I want to develop a research. I want to make a research. Again, the last time we said there is no right or wrong. Some people solve this problem by this way, and some people fill the knowledge gap by this way. Of course, it's against the logic, but not all people behave similar. There's sometimes irrationality in their behavior. Okay, now we wanted to develop our research theme, our research group our research behavior? I don't understand. We call it research paradigm. What is the meaning of research paradigm? The last section, the last time, we have talked about all of that, but without using terminologies, without using hard concepts, without using difficult concepts. Today, we are more advanced, we need to use more advanced concepts. We need to develop our research paradigm. Okay. To develop our research paradigm, we have to look first about something called ontology, epistemology, methodology, methods, structure. So you have to be consistent in your philosophy, in your thinking, in your ideas. How come? First, you have an objective. My objective, for example, to solve a problem. We have a company X. This company has a problem in its information system. People cannot adopt the new information system easily. We don't know why. So we need to answer why. This is problem solving, this is objectivism. Why? On the other hand, this kind of research say, this is a relationship, is this a relationship? Do they a relationship? This is a question about do, is. This question about how, why. So I'm talking right now about problem solving, why. Company comes, tell me, we have a problem, people cannot adopt a new information system easily. Please tell us why. I will follow this approach, I will follow this scope. First, I will do a research. What is the meaning do a research? I will searching in books, do literature review, reading books. Is anyone have thought about this before or not? Anyone faced this problem before or not? How they treated this problem? Of course, I can't take the solution and give it to this company. Why? Because this company have different context from other companies. So I can't copy and paste the solution. It's no. So we have to think again. But we have to go to literature review. Why? In order to not reinvent the wheel. After doing our literature review, to know, just to know who have done this before or not, and how, we try to make a research paradigm after doing our literature review. First, we have to think about our ontology. What is the meaning of ontology? Ontology is a belief about the reality. Do we think that we have a single reality or no single reality? This is ontology. Single reality, this is my ontology. No single reality, this is my ontology. So, in this approach, what's our ontology? No single reality. That's why we call it constructionism. What's the meaning of constructionism? The reality is constructed in the context. So different contexts have different reality. The reality is construction. That's why we call it constructionist. This is the ontology. After thinking that, okay, I understand you, so there is no single reality, so we have to look at, we are different contexts, so we should keep that in our mind. We have to think in epistemology. What is the meaning of epistemology? How you get the knowledge, the theory of getting the knowledge. What is the meaning of that? We have different views in epistemology. Our ontology here, our epistemology here says that since we don't have single reality, therefore we have to interpret the reality. So our epistemology here is interpretivist. Keep in mind that this is for our aim problem. we have a problem, which is why there is no adaptation between people and the information system. Based on that, we say, be aware, there is no single reality. So we have to put ourselves in the company and understand the company in order to say how or what. Methodology, what is the meaning of methodology? Research methodology. How can we get the data? How can we get the information? How can we get the reality? So this is our philosophy about the reality, the theory of getting reality. How can you get the data? Most of the people understand the research methodology this only. Of course, we have to understand the top of the pyramid first. The methodology, this is methodology. How can we get that? Steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will first make an interview, talk to people, watch or observe a case study from start to end, and try to notice, observe, talk to people. This is how we can get the data. Methodology. Methods. Of course, methodology consists of methods. Method 1, interviews. Method 2, collecting data. The last is structure. This is the most important point. What is my structure here? Structure here, in writing my paper or my thesis or my research report, is very different from here. First, I will talk about this and I will contrast. Structure here talks about, I will first make introduction. After introduction, I will make research aims and objectives. Why? Because I have to know what I'm seeking to know. So we have research aims and objectives. After research aims and objectives, I'm trying to get a literature review in order to see if anyone have done this before or not. After literature review, I will do research methodology. Sometimes I can make research methodology first and then literature review. Literature review in this case is not important at all. This is important for researcher in order to be assured that there is no one have done this before or not. Okay, so, and then collecting data and validating data. On the other hand, the positivism. I like to repeat a lot of the information. The positivism. What's the positivism? I need to get the relationship between using information system and the happiness in the organization. Two concepts. After reading a lot of literature review, a lot of papers, books, I found that no one have tried to find a relationship between using the information system and happiness. This is my trigger for research. I will think, my ontology, is it a single reality or no single reality? There is a single reality, because this is a universal concept. So I need to know how people think in this single reality. So here, we have a single reality. That's why sometimes we call it objectivist. Why we call it objectivist? Because we are outside of the reality, because we are external. Our mind doesn't have the reality, we don't know. We just propose an idea. Is there is a relationship between happiness and the information system or not? And then I try to ask people. So I'm objectivist. This is my ontology. My epistemology, what's the meaning of epistemology? The theory of getting knowledge. What's your theory in getting knowledge? I say that we have a hypothesis and testing this hypothesis. So, this one we call it empiricist. What is the meaning of that? Testing hypothesis. These people think the reality could be gained only by testing hypothesis. This is the traditional view of science, really. The traditional view of science, the old school of science says that we have first to collect information. After collecting information, we propose hypotheses. After proposing hypotheses, we test hypotheses objectively, using statistics. Okay. What about the methods here? Of course, methods here is very famous. Questionnaire. we do a questionnaire. We put a questionnaire questions into to find the relationship between two concepts, to see a relationship between X and Y, happiness and information system. Or information system maybe could affect happiness. We will explore that later. What about the structure? Structure here is very different. Structure here, after doing your introduction, the most important thing at all is the literature review. Your supervisor will just look at literature review and how you criticize literature review and everything from literature review. Why? Because the reason of doing your research is filling a knowledge gap. So if you don't understand the knowledge, if you don't understand where is the knowledge gap, so why do you make a research? So this is very, very important, the literature review. On the other hand, here the literature review is not important. We have first introduction. After introduction, we make research aims and objective, and this is the most important thing. This is the most important, and this is the most important. After doing literature review, you try to find research gap. After finding a research gap, you will next develop a model. What's meaning of develop a model here? Model here is different from model here. We have talked about that last time. Develop a model, it means here hypothesis. Testing hypothesis. What's our hypothesis? Hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, hypothesis 3. Hypothesis what? Relationship between X and Y, K and M, and the relationship between different concepts. After developing hypothesis, which is emerged, which is rooted from literature review, third, we will try to collect data in order to test. But before that, we have to measure the concept. No, you can't measure it from your mind. You can't think. You can't say, I think. No. In this school, you have to get how people measure this concept from others, based on literature review, not from your mind at all. You can't say X is measured by these factors. No. What's the meaning of measure? Happiness. What's the meaning of happiness? How can you measure happiness? How you can say this is happiness or not? You have to define it into a set of questions. In fact, I can't do that by myself. I have to find other researchers. How can others measure happiness and take these questions and put it in my questionnaire? It's not easy to put your questionnaire from your mind. After developing a model, you have to collect data, distribute questionnaire. After collecting the data, you have to analyze the data. Finally, after finalizing data, writing up. On the other hand, this is school. First, introduction. The most important thing is research aims and objectives. After that, we can say literature review or research methodology. Literature review is not important at all, so we can say research methodology first. And even when you write a paper in a qualitative journal, you have to consider that research methodology or conference is more important than literature. No one will read your literature review. Literature review is not important at all. After research methodology, literature review in the qualitative study, we think literature review as a single point in a research methodology. After literature review, we collect data, analyze, and validate. Of course, here we don't have validation phase, validation point. Here we have a validation. Why? Because here we talk to people. So you have to validate using another case study, another people. You have to make an interview with another people. But here, why do you need to validate? You collect data and use a questionnaire and using statistics. So validation here by using statistics. You don't need to validate again. But here you collect data from case study from an organization and validate from another organization. In brief, I want to memorize what we have taken in 2 minutes. About the ontology, here we say no single reality. Here we say there is a single reality and it's external our minds. So we call that constructionism, we call that objectivist. Epistemology, the theory of collecting the data. Here we say interpretivist, we interpret. Here we say it empiricist, testing. And finally, we call theory, how we develop our theory. We call it deductive because we test and then we get the theory. Here we call it inductive. What's the meaning of inductive? We look at a single case study or 2 or 3 case studies and develop a theory. But here you have a hypothesis, send the questionnaire to people. After collecting the questionnaire, analyze this questionnaire to test what you have thought about. Okay, thank you. The next time we will talk about more in depth about the third paradigm. What's the third paradigm? In 1 minute, you have to think. Do our job is just searching for reality, or we can create a reality? So the next time we think of, do we think that we can create a reality or just we reflect the reality? Thank you.